Alright, so welcome back to the long-awaited, super delayed sequel to my ever-popular video, How to Get Powerful Equipment Right After Leaving the Plateau. As you can see, all the footage that you're watching right now is right at the beginning of the game, using the DLC this time. I know I already made one for Master Mode, but I wanted to sort of take new strategies that have been discovered in the past, 3 months, and then package and present that information for newer players, and also players that have been playing for quite some time. So as you guys will see shortly with the loading screen is that, yes, as I mentioned, this is all going to be DLC, and the footage that you were watching right now was taken on Master Mode. So all the enemies that we'll be fighting will be quite strong, but it doesn't matter because we're not actually going to be killing very many enemies for this particular route. As well, as you can see in the top right corner of the screen, I have not taken any upgrades. My stamina and my heart containers are all at the exact minimum because we are at the beginning of the game. So if any of you guys are already well on your way through collecting shrines and turning those into heart containers and stamina wheels, you'll be able to do this a lot more easily in comparison to myself. So more power to you, all in all. As well, the main focus of this video will be using Majora's Mask, a DLC equipment to its fullest potential. So, we're going to kick things off on the route the old-fashioned way, warping to the Omen Au, or as I like to call it, the Aonuma Shrine, and jumping on a nearby horse. Now, I missed the jump, but if you approach from the front, you do a better job of avoiding any and all damage, because if you approach from behind, they'll kick you, but from the front, there's a little bit of a delay before they kick you from the front, so keep that in mind. Now, for those of you newer players, what you can do before continuing on the route, you can just pause the video right now and take the opposite direction to go to the shrine to register your horse, especially if it's a good horse that's like 3 or 4 spurs. That'll be very helpful, and you'll also get the you'll also have the ability to call them with your whistle, which is down on the D-pad. So, using this horse, we're going to be heading towards the Garrison Ruins, and like all DLC items, for those of you guys that are not aware, using Magnesis on a shield at a treasure chest that is hidden beneath the ground, you can use it to pull it out and then claim the treasure inside. The one that we're going to be getting is just Majora's Mask for today. I was considering getting the Phantom set, but I figured we're not going to be fighting many things anyway, so we might as well just focus on this. Majora's Mask is very, very good because it prevents enemies from being aggressive towards you. This means you can basically go through like any area with all the safety in the world, and the only real requirement aside from Majora's Mask is one two-handed weapon, and you're going to see why later for when we enter Hyrule Castle. You can either get the Iron Sledgehammer from the Stasis Trial, or the Woodcutter's Axe from the Old Man's Camp at the beginning near the Shrine of Resurrection, or if either of those weapons broke, you can also use the Woodcutter's Axe that you find inside of the Old Man's Cabin outside of the Stasis Trial. So, as you can see here, I'm utilizing a very well-known glitch, but for those of you guys that don't know, this is the whistle running glitch, where you get infinite stamina as you run. You hold down the whistle button, which is down on the D-pad, and you mash the run button, which in my case is the B button. This lets you have infinite stamina, but the trade-off is that you'll be making a lot of noise. Thankfully, we are wearing Majora's Mask, so notifying enemies of our location isn't a big deal since they won't attack us anyway. And another detail about Majora's Mask is that the enemies will only attack you if you attack them first, but there is a bit of a useful tip/exploit that you may or may not want to consider using depending on how things go. Now, the route that I'm using right now, for those of you that are familiar with the previous video that I've made, the route that I had last time was actually quite dangerous because there were several guardians that you could potentially run into. We're still going to be facing guardians, but just the, 1 or 2 initially, and then the ones after that are fairly easy to dodge. But I understand that for newer players it's quite intimidating, but it's very much worth learning how to avoid the lasers. Essentially what's going to happen is that they're going to target you with their laser reticle, and then you have to really, really listen closely. Once you hear the beeping stop, you know they're going to shoot at you. Try to move from the side. So, let's just say the line of the laser is horizontal, then you're going to be wanting to go in a vertical position, and also the same goes for the other way around. If it's like a vertical line, then go from side to side. That way you'll be able to dodge the laser with relative ease. what you saw back there, usually the Guardian would kind of walk towards the left, so I would head towards the left myself, and not making too much noise by galloping, because I know he's going to be going back to the right. It's a really good thing to keep in mind. Takes a bit of practice. I highly recommend, especially for newer players, to save habitually. Save as many times as you need to, just because you don't want to be so frustrated that you'll have to start all the way back from whenever the last autosave is. You have a lot of control in this game. Even in Master Mode, they restrict you to having like one save file and like one autosave. So, even so, like the equipment that we'll be getting at this stage in the game will be the exact same for Master Mode as well. So don't worry too much if you want to just play on normal mode. If you're playing this game for the first time on normal, it's useful for either difficulty, and it's 100% viable because you won't be worrying about durability. That's the whole point of this video, really, is, well, these videos, the reason why people enjoy them so much and why I enjoy making them is because durability is a very intimidating prospect. That's a possibility that a very, like, beloved, hard-earned weapon of yours is going to eventually end up breaking. This part, try not to expend your spurs, because that one on the right, that Guardian, will actually notice you from all the noise that you make, so yeah, don't actually expend any galloping spurs for that one. So head down over here and head towards the right. This is where we need to be going. Again, try not to make too much noise, because as you see over here on the left, there was one more Guardian that could notice you if you gallop. Yeah, just be very, very cautious when you're around this area. Try not to overextend yourself too much. If you make too many mistakes, don't worry about that either. Again, if you're saving a lot, I highly recommend saving at this part, because this could be a lot to take in at once. Now, usually when you're entering Hyrule Castle, you would enter through the front gate, or in the previous video, we would use that pillar to jump our way in. This video, for this video, we're going to be using a special speedrunner method, which I actually quite enjoy. It's fairly easy to do once you get the hang of it, but just, yeah, keep track and rewatch this part if you need to. Nestle yourself right in front of this treasure chest and put down a square bomb. Not a circle bomb, a square bomb, so it doesn't roll away. Put it right there when you're right in front of the treasure chest. The way that stasis works is, yeah, you build up as many hits as possible, starting from yellow to be like very light impacts, then orange, which is medium impact, and then finally the maximum impacts, which is red. Putting that bomb there will let us actually manipulate where it's going to send us. So it won't give us any more force, but it would definitely manipulate where we end up. So just, yeah, move yourself along so that you can expend as little stamina as you need to, and then finally detonate the bomb to kind of move yourself upward. And we have liftoff. Wait a little bit longer because, you know, the physics kind of come into play here, and just kind of jump off the moments you see the slab that you're standing on begin to lower itself. A Guardian's going to notice me here, but I don't worry too much about it since I'm constantly going on the descent, and it's always going to shoot where I was, and since we're making so much distance, like we're going to be very far away from it, and that's what we're looking for. Again, they're very intimidating. I highly recommend saving as often as you can. And thankfully, like, all the strategies that we're going to be using here are quite safe. Like, we're using Majora's Mask, and Majora's Mask is one of the safest things that you could possibly use in this game. It's almost game-breaking, really, and I'm actually going to be showing a trick that you guys can also use if you feel that you're taking too many risks or you need to take a little bit of a breather, but I'll get into that later. So, I mentioned earlier that I only have, like, you know, I have no upgrades to my stamina or hearts whatsoever, but that's because the one stamina wheel is all you really need. As you can see here, like, when you do your jumps, you can get 4 consecutive jumps on the wall from a full wheel of stamina, and that's extremely useful. You see over here, getting all 4 hits in, and then needing to wait a little bit to recover the stamina. Like, I'm just trying to rush through this as quickly as possible for the sake of time, but for those of you guys that are playing this at home, it helps to, you know, take your time, figure out where to go, and that's kind of the good thing about Majora's Mask, really, is that you get to take that time. Now, one thing to note is that every weapon that we're going to be finding on this route, it will respawn after a blood moon. A blood moon is a thing that happens that respawns all the enemies in the world, including the weapons. Any weapons that are found on enemies or on the ground will respawn, but things found in treasure chests will not respawn. Same thing goes for this box over here. Everything's going to respawn after the Blood Moon. Theoretically, you could save the game and then open up these boxes and hope that you get the Mighty Bananas. These are some of the most useful ingredients you can get because it increases the damage that you can actually do to enemies when you're cooking it into a recipe. Now, here's the trick that I mentioned earlier. It's very, very useful for newer players. What you do is that if you're overwhelmed, being attacked by guardians, you can save and reload your save file. In doing so, you actually reset the positioning of all the enemies on the map, and because you're wearing Majora's Mask, if you were to aggro an enemy, like say a Lizalfos or a Bokoblin, and then they come and try to attack you, you could actually save the game and reload that save, making them non-hostile towards you. So if you make any mistakes, don't worry, the option to fix those mistakes is readily available to you guys. And we'll actually be utilizing that little exploit, or trick, I think maybe like 1 or 2 more times for this entire video. So yeah, you head your way in here, and we'll find the dining hall. The dining hall is an awesome place, and the first thing you want to do is get your magnesis out and take this royal bow, which is actually the first bow that we ever got in this run, I believe. Really, really strong start. Yep, this is the very first bow we've ever gotten. So there's a lot of great ingredients that you can get here. Like you can get the whole raw bird, a bunch of different raw meats that you can also use. Great for healing. I love the fact that healing is readily available once you know what to do. Mighty Bananas, Molduga Fins, a lot of ingredients you can go here and get here, but I kind of just skipped most of it in the for the sake of time. I did head over to get this Razor Shroom and these truffles, which increase your max hearts. All very, very useful ingredients to get, especially this early. A couple of other things like resistances. Again, you have Majora's Mask, all these enemies will notice you, but they'll never attack you until you attack them first, and that's great. So, head down over to this hallway and take out any bomb of your choosing, and bomb the wall on the left, and that'll get you the quote-unquote Dark Master Sword. Just kidding, it's the Royal Guard sword. Very, very powerful sword of its weapon class. It's quite quick and does a lot of damage, but the durability is quite low. So keep that in mind. Usually save it for maybe like a boss encounter or when you just need to have as much damage as you can possibly get. And yeah, these barrels, again, they all respawn and they drop a lot of bundles of arrows. This is extremely useful for people that want to sort of like stock up on arrows. And of course the Royal Guard shield, again, low durability, but quite effective. Now, all the weapons on this rack over here, these are all Traveler's variants of those weapons. And the thing is, the way that the game works is that the more you progress through the game, the more powerful equipment you get in the world, and the weapons that spawn will actually upgrade over time. So eventually it will reach a point where all those Traveler's weapons that I was looking at on the weapon rack will become royal weapons, and those are the highest that they can go. It's very, very useful, and if you feel the need to restock on weapons but you're not sure where to go, or you want to go into a new area with confidence, always remember this route. It's a very, very useful one. So the reason why I wanted the shock arrows, as you saw earlier, is that I want to use it on the moblins. Shock arrows are quite useful because in the rain they do extra damage and also create an AoE, or an area of effect. And you shock enemies for about 2 seconds and force them to drop their weapons. It's extremely useful, and we'll be using the shock effect extensively throughout this entire video. So yeah, hit these eyeballs to lower the mucus that's going around over here. And yeah, there's actually a weapon around here that we'll also be getting, which is the exact same effect as the shock arrows, but in weapon form. So you can just go up to an enemy, smack them in the face with it, force them to drop their weapon. Yeah, the Thunderblade. So, again, this is a one-handed sword weapon. The durability is alright. We shouldn't need it very many times, though, so really, like, if ever you do want to come back, you should have at least one shock arrow if you want to get your Royal Claymore. And then, yeah, then just pick up this weapon, like, reserve one weapon slot just for this one weapon. As you see over there, smacks that moblin with the Thunderblade and took his Royal Halberd, which is one of the strongest spears that you can get, especially so early in the game. This is like the first hour of gameplay, technically. So once you get over here, take out your Cryonis and open this area, and the moment you enter, there will be a hallway with another Lizalfos. Again, because this is Master Mode, these enemies that you'll be fighting are quite strong, but you don't have to worry about it so much because, again, we have Majora's Mask, we don't have to worry about them attacking us, and we can just use the Shock Blade to sort of get them to drop their weapons. So I made a mistake here. Don't do this mistake that I did. I actually cooked all these attack upgrade ingredients with hopes that I would get something cool out of it. I would just recommend saving it for later because there is an ingredient, which we will be getting in a couple of seconds, that actually increase the duration of any food effects. So yeah, keep that in mind. Yeah, easily getting a new shield and a very good sword. And if you bomb this area, you actually get access to 3 more ancient arrows, bringing up to 6. Ancient arrows are quite rare. They are the rarest arrow in the game, but they're very powerful. They completely destroy any enemy in a single hit. The trade-off to being a one-shot weapon, though, is that all their equipment disappears, so keep that in mind. So that was the Shard of Nadra's Fang that we took. Again, like I said earlier, that's the thing that increases the duration of weapon buffs by a large amount. In the case of the Fang, I believe it's like 13 minutes or 15 minutes. It's a substantially higher one. So if I have just waited before cooking my bananas and my razor shrooms, I would have had like, I think 15 minutes of a +2 attack buff. It's really, really good. Yeah, coming down here, you actually can get the Royal Guard's Claymore, just like the Royal Guard's Sword. Lots and lots of damage, but low durability, and also a Royal Claymore. Now, over here, Lizalfos was going to run after me with a Knight's Claymore and one-shot me. I don't want that to happen, so I saved my game and I reloaded the save. Once I reload this save, all the enemies are going to be reset to their original positions. So it's a very, very safe strategy. Well, depending on how you guys feel about, the quote-unquote ethics of a game, but it's a very, very good trick to learn if you don't mind, spending any additional time on that. It's very, very useful. So, take out your bombs and blow up these barrels. Finally, I've gotten many, many messages on previous videos that I've missed this, and we're finally going to make a video where we get it. So, this is the Savage Lionel shield. Very interesting shield. Has high durability, and you're also able to do damage. This is one of the only shields where you can do damage by parrying them in the face. That's by targeting them, holding up your shield at them, and then pressing the A button, and that actually does some damage. I thought that was really, really funny they could put that in, though. I can't say I know how much damage it does, but it's just nice to have the option sometimes. So, to leave this area, you want to step on the switch and stasis it, run up the stairs, and that's basically it. Remember when I said that one stamina wheel was enough? Same thing holds true to this. Stand on this lip, wait for your stamina to fully recover, then jump up 4 times. You have enough to actually just make it. Now, if you were to actually go into this building, you'd be forced to fight against a Lionel, which is one of the most powerful enemies in the game. I decided not to waste any time fighting against them, although you could if you wanted to, but we're still quite early in the game, so it's better that you kind of just save your time. Run down over here to avoid the laser, and then climb up. There will be another treasure chest that contains about 5 bomb arrows, and again, just to reiterate, anything that is found from an enemy will respawn after a blood moon. Anything that's found on the ground will be respawned in a blood moon. But if it was found in a treasure chest, it will not respawn, so just keep that in mind when you start to expend some of your things. Alright, so what you want to do is now just head up these stairs, and yeah, we're pretty much mirroring the original route that we had. Try to close as much distance as you can before you just book it towards this opposite wall. These things are quite intimidating, and it's a little tricky to get the timings right. I highly recommend, again, if there's anything that you think might be a little bit dangerous on this route, make sure you save before it begins. So as you enter into this room, take out your Magnesis and aim it at this bow. This bow is another Royal Guard's bow. Again, high damage, low durability, but still, higher damage is always a good thing. Hit this guy with a shock blade, and then finally you get the Edge of Duality, a very, very good weapon. A very good two-handed weapon with 50 damage. So already we have, more than enough, actually, to theoretically beat the game with these weapons. Of course, you would need the know-how, but in terms of numbers, you're basically set. So as over here, you can actually just float down. I'm trying to give you guys a better idea of the area that we're surveying. we're heading into the library next. It requires a bit of legwork. There's quite a bit of water that you would also be able to cross, but thankfully in this game, water is not really much of an issue since you can use cryonis to create pillars to hop across. So yeah, we're just making our way around here. Follow closely since I forgot to turn on the Pro HUD, so the map won't be available, but it's probably just better to look at the paths that I take anyway, since that map is like a 3D map, so it'll be hard to find out where a person is in the video, and then you referencing it in the game might not be as helpful. So yeah, as you see over here, I'm going to take out my cryonis to give myself a little bit more time to jump across instead of swimming, since this is a stream. I might end up going downstream if I tried. Wait for your stamina to replenish, and then climb your way up here. Yeah, I'm slowly making my way, and on the right, I thought this would be a door that I can enter in, but I realized it's all blocked off. But yeah, around here, there's actually an entrance into the library. The nice thing about the library here is that there's quite a few enemies, but in my opinion, none of their weapons are worth taking. However, there is a secret compartment. There's a bunch of secret compartments in this area, and I believe there's also a side quest. So if you ever find that there's a side quest that asks you to go to the Hyrule Castle library, then that's something you can do. Secret compartment, use your magnesis to take out the bookshelf, and you'll find the King's Study. Contains a Royal Guard's shield and 300 rupees. So if you want to sort of kickstart your new adventure into Hyrule, this would be a nice place to go. Otherwise, yeah, we're just going to go around, and there's another secret compartment that's very, very important, and it leads to the docks. The docks of Hyrule Castle. I really, really like the details that they put into the design of Hyrule Castle. It feels like a real place. So yeah, head to the docks, take out an arrow, light it up on the torch, and then hit the big torch, and you summon a shrine. Now, for those of you guys that are new to the game, shrines are effectively warp points. So if ever you want to come back to Hyrule Castle, especially if you want to head back to the archives or anything like that, maybe get these weapons from a different route, then you're more than welcome to warp to this shrine. This particular shrine is also very good because you can kill the enemy inside, and he gives you 3 powerful guardian weapons. And the guardian weapons, they do extra damage against the guardian enemies that you've noticed outside of the castle, and they overall just do tons of damage anyway, considering their weapon class. So again, I'm wearing Majora's Mask. Usually those archers would, make my life hell by pelting me with shock arrows, but thankfully that's not the case. And you also get the Great Flame Blade. Very, very useful for igniting things and fighting enemies that are weak to fire. An added bonus of using the Flame Blade is that if you have it equipped, you actually get increased warmth. So if you were in a cold area and you were wearing this sword, you will not get cold. Of course, there is a difference when it's like an even colder area where you need to have 2 levels of cold resistance, but that would just mean that you would need the 1 cold resistance and then your Flame Blade, and you're basically good to go. Very useful weapon to have all around, but again, everything that we're getting here is something that could be useful one way or another, whether it's damage or for practical applications. So yeah, we're heading up here. I'm actually kind of figuring out where to go, but once you turn around, this actually leads to the dungeon, or the lockup. And this will be the last thing we're going to be getting today. It's a very well-known shield that a lot of people are used to. The shield that we're going to be getting here does not respawn, but it has the highest durability in the game. And when you do, if you ever are unfortunate enough to have lost that shield, there is a merchant somewhere in the game that you can actually buy a replacement for the shield for. That being said though, it's a very durable shield, so you probably won't need a replacement for quite some time. So yeah, just use your arrow to shoot out the eyeballs. Again, you're wearing Majora's Mask, you don't have to worry about these guys attacking you, unless you want their weapons, in which case, yeah, they totally would. But, you could just use the quick reload. So yeah, heading into this area here, don't do what I do. I made the mistake of thinking that Ancient Arrows would do more damage. I tried hitting with Ancient Arrows, hoping that I would, not even maybe one shot, but maybe get, a large fraction of his health, but unfortunately that never happens. So the key to fighting these guys, if it helps your confidence, just save before it begins. And yeah, shoot him in the eye and then go to town on him with your with your two-handed sword. This Edge of Duality has quite a bit of durability. I recommend not finishing the animation. Instead, when you're about to run out of health, press the B button to sheathe it so that you don't have to slam it into the ground. So yeah, again, I thought that this would do more damage, but turns out not so, which is unfortunate, but at least we're getting as much damage as we can while we still can. Yeah, once his health is low enough, the eye will pop out, and then you can do whatever damage you can. Usually a bow would be the best course of action just because it constantly does roll away from you. But still, yeah, like, it's just a matter of staying calm and then hitting in the eyeball once it's available to you. A bit of practice is required, but you only have to fight this guy once, really, when you think about it, because after this, the shields will never respawn. Also, whenever you kill a Stalnox, or even a Hinox, you're actually rewarded with some really good weapons. Particularly this one, it gives you Royal Guard weapons and a great Thunderblade. It's really, really good stuff. So yeah, in anticipation of getting the shield, you get the Hylian shield at a whopping 90 points in the defense. This is the best shield in the game, and it's great that you can get this weapon so early on. So yeah, if you want, you can collect any of these weapons if it matches your fancy. But that basically does it for the routes. If you want to finish or leave this area, open up your map and it'll give you the option to exit the area. And then from then on, you can warp to any point. You can warp back to the plateau and show those enemies who's boss with your new powerful weapons. And when the Blood Moon happens, you can just go back to the beginning and then try it all over again. It's just really that simple. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this makes durability loss a little bit more easier on your minds, setting your minds at ease. And I really had a lot of fun making this video, so I look forward to doing some more stuff, showing off what Majora's Mask is capable of. So I'll see you guys later.